Jesus died once and for all for the sins of all mankind, once, because he didn't cover them. He dealt with them. I want to talk about the human condition for a moment, because one of the problems in Christianity is to hear a truth, but to have never done the work, to never have done the labor of love to see how that truth, why it's real. How did that happen? And there's something so precious about God's word. And many of us just want to hear the shortcut. But let's talk about the human condition without Christ. Did you know that when people don't know Christ, they have an acute sense of condemnation? They have an inferiority complex. You can have somebody who becomes a great actor. You can have somebody who seems so confident on the stage in a role, but there is no confidence deep inside at the spirit realm, which is why after singing to 80,000 screaming fans who are throwing their clothes at them, they still have to go into the green room afterwards and smoke dope and do a line of coke, just because they know that what was presented on the stage, they are not. And so the greater you rise up in this world, in people looking at you, worshiping you, wow and wah of you, and if you are not born again, it simply amplifies this sense of condemnation, this inferiority complex that makes us cowards. The way people are before their spirit man is alive, which is the way all of us were before we got born again, is that we are people of doubt. We naturally doubt everything. And we doubt God, we doubt His Word. We have a sin consciousness, which means we never feel good enough. We can never do enough. Anything we have done that is bad anywhere, all the way back, haunts us, condemns us, and we have a sin consciousness. We know we have no right to approach God. If we were ever to see God, you'd better hide like Adam in the garden, because there is this fear that will make you weak in the knees and it'll make you fall to the ground. Because you and I, without Christ, without this born again thing on the inside of us, if we pray, it's prayers of desperation, not prayers of faith. And when we give our lives to Christ, if we don't understand what happens, we can stay in all of that kind of thinking, even though that is no longer us. I want you to know that you, born in this world, me, born in this world, we have a highly developed sin consciousness. We have a highly developed sense of inferiority. We have a highly developed sense of unworthiness, and it dominates us, which is why without Christ, the world is so unhappy deep in their core. We just watch the news to see who of the richest and the Hollywood and the band, who's going to take their life next. And it's not just in that level, but it just shows this incredible, deep, deep need of every human being. And even the ones who look so happy, and you can be comedians that make the whole world laugh, and you find out their families have known forever. They just have never known happiness. This sense of humor actually comes out of deep depression in some of their cases. I want you to understand where you and I come from, or maybe where you still are. And I want to challenge you that there's a birthright that Jesus has won for you, and you're going to have to make sure that you fight for it. By that I mean the fight of faith. And the enemy is going to come to try to steal the word that is sown in your heart, Jesus said in Mark chapter 4. There's a teaching today that I'm just a sinner. I'm just a sinner. And they think that's humble. Usually it just covers up some kind of sin they don't want to talk about, because I'm just a sinner, saved by grace. What does that mean? Well, what they mean is that they still have the nature of sin, which is absolutely anti-gospel. You are not a person who's been washed up, cleaned up, put a new suit of clothes and a ribbon in your hair and a tie around your neck, and then we try to get enough of God's word to get your fallen nature good enough to at least obey God and do some good with it. That's what a lot of people look at Christianity like. I'm forgiven for my sins. It's one thing to be forgiven. It's another thing to have a complete nature change. And slowly, I've noticed in many churches, I speak with great orators all over the world, and they have an ability to make people feel comfortable in their sin, or they attack that sin and make them feel just despised in their sin. And both are wrong. It's not an issue of what you do first. It's an issue of who you are. Once you discover who you are, it is easy to become and to be what you is. So the Bible's very clear that the Old Testament always, there's a reminder of their sin. Every year they would take the blood of a sacrifice and they'd put it on the altar and to cover their sins. The sins were never dealt with. The sins were just covered. That's called atonement. That word's never used. These terms are never used in the New Covenant because Jesus doesn't, and I've got so many verses, it would take me forever to give them to you. And there's so many verses that talk about that Jesus died once and for all for the sins of all mankind once, because he didn't cover them. He dealt with them. And when you come to Jesus, and who has died on the cross for your sin, and he became sin, he became your sins. He went to hell. He paid the price as a sinner, and he is continually called something that no one seems to get. He's the firstborn. Well, why would Jesus have to be the firstborn if he's God? Because he died and he became sin. And while he was in this state of sinfulness, and the Bible says his grave was with the sinners, that when God saw that it was enough that he had suffered for you and I, and he took your sin and he took your punishment, and he said, it is enough. He rose, the life of God rose him up out of the grave, and he was born again. He was the firstborn, and he went straight into the presence of God. If God can do that with Jesus, who took more sin than you've ever done, because he took the sin of the world. And if he could take Jesus and have him pay the price for all of mankind's sin, and then the life of God hits him and he's reborn and he rises again, and then he goes right into the presence of God, then this born again experience is so remarkable that you're not a sinner saved by grace. You are righteous living in a fallen world. So someone says, well, are you saying that you're never going to sin? No, but that's not what we're talking about. I could bark right now, doesn't make me a dog. I could rub my front foot like a bull ready to charge, doesn't make me a bull. I could roll in the mud, doesn't make me a pig. My identity is not determined by my actions. My identity is determined by my nature. And you've got to go there first. You first establish what your nature is and who you are. And then you're going to discover something remarkable happens. There are believers today who know they are righteous. It doesn't mean they are perfect, flawless. It means they know their nature. My nature, I'm righteous. That's my nature. Why? Because Jesus is in me. Well, you know, we're kind of both. Okay, so you got the nature of the devil, because there are some, the Bible says that God called them, you are of your father, the devil. So yes, you can have the nature. All fallen man, when Satan got Adam, and it's because of Adam that this nature's on our kids and our grandkids and our babies, is that this nature of the enemy, this nature, it's a nature of fear. It's a nature of doubt. It's a nature of guilt. It's a nature of condemnation. It's a nature of you never feel like you're ever confident. And yet, when Jesus comes into our heart and you become born again, your nature change means that you now have the nature of Jesus.